Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Art to Heart podcast, a weekly podcast from our channel. And today is our episode 15, and it is very, very overwhelming for me because I never thought I'd come up to a 15th episode talking about the Art of Life series. Here, I cover up a different topic of all over again about how can we face our life and face those challenges and overcome those through the art of anything, right? So this Art to Heart podcast is very special for us because today is episode 15 and we are going to undercover the topic, the art of overcoming fear. So I'm your host Rena, and today we are diving into something that affects every single of us, fear. The word fear itself kind of give a little goosebump in us because we all have some set of fear in us, whatever it may be. We have different set of phobias, right? Whether it is a fear of failure, rejection, the unknown, or even our own potential, fear is something we all encounter. But the big question is, how do we move through it? How do we turn fear from a force that holds us back into one that propels us forward? Today, we are going to explore the art of overcoming fear, and together we will start learning how to face our fears with courage and clarity. So, grab your favorite drink and watch this beautiful illustration. As today, I just drew a simple human being standing at the top of the mountain, like he has succeeded climbing over it, or she has succeeded climbing over it, right? So, let's get comfortable and let's dive into today's episode. Like I previously mentioned, fear can be in any form, like a failure, a rejection, a fear of someone. So, fear is a powerful emotion. It's primal. It is there. It is hardwired into our brains, meant to protect us from danger. But in today's world, that ancient mechanisms sometimes work against us. We are not being chased by saber-toothed tigers anymore, but we still experience fear in ways that stop us from living the life we truly want. We fear failure, judgment, uncertainty, and sometimes we fear success itself. It's almost as if fear has become that invisible holding, which is holding us back from reaching our potential. So, in today's episode of Art to Heart, the art of overcoming fear, we will be primarily talking about how we can actually overcome fear to see our potential, which we are hiding from us within. But here is the twist: fear does not have to be a wall, it can be a doorway. Let's start by recognizing that fear isn't the problem. How we relate to fear is the key. Fear is not something to get rid of, it's something to understand, to work with, and yes, to embrace it. So, number one, let's go into our step one of this. Acknowledge the fear. The first step in overcoming fear is not to pretend it's not there. Denying fear only gives it more power. Instead, we need to acknowledge it. So, I want you to think about a fear that you're currently dealing with. Maybe a fear of failure. Imagine you're going to start something new, start your own business, start your own some salon, something, okay? Anything related to business or anything related to study. But you have this fear inside that you won't be successful. What if I won't be able to clear this exam or something, okay? Think of some fear you have. Maybe it's a big decision you're avoiding, a dream you're hesitant to pursue, or something in your personal life that feels too daunting. Whether it is, name it. Whatever it is, you just have to name it, okay? Take a piece of paper, write it down what you currently fear. When you acknowledge fear, you begin to separate yourself from it. You are not your fear, you are the person absorbing it. And that small shift in perspective can change everything. So I do also have a set of fear. For example, starting this podcast, I have been talking about for a very, very, very long time. Think of it like even a year. Okay, I want to speak about this, I want to talk about this, but I never potentially had this time where I can sit, where I can write it down, where I can think about it, where I can share some of the life lesson to all of your audience. But like I said, today is a very special episode of 15th episode, which I never thought I would start. So a few months ago, I decided I will start posting it, right? So once I started jotting these things down, eventually, whenever it is Sunday, Saturday itself, my mind starts shifting to a gear where I feel like, okay, I have to render this topic. I have to think about this. I have to write this entire podcast. And then I start doing whatever I'm doing currently, like sharing my knowledge to you. So, like that, you will also have fear. Writing it down actually clarifies a lot of things. So, take a piece of paper, write down your fear. Step two, ask yourself what's the worst would happen, right? So imagine your fear is to actually pursue a master and you are afraid to pursue because you don't have time, you don't have acknowledgement, you don't have permission, whatever it may be. Just write it down. What is the reason which is holding you back from following this path, right? What worst would happen? Write pros and cons of whatever you're going to have the fear for. Now, like I said, I want you to ask a question. What was that would happen? We often create stories in our head about the consequences of facing our fear, and those stories are usually far worse than the reality. Trust me, it is far worse in your brain. I have this built in potential where I overthink a lot of stuff and I just get too much sucked up in my brain. This does not mean that the fear is invalid, but it does mean that we often blow it out of proportion. Take a moment to really sit with that. Imagine your worst case scenario. What would it look like? Then ask yourself, is it truly life threatening? Obviously, it's not, right? Is it something I can't recover from? Obviously, you will recover from it. Most of the time, the answer is no. Fear makes us think that failure equals catastrophe, but failure is often just a learning experience in disguise. Let me share my personal example, right? A few years ago, I was terrified of public speaking. Growing up, I was a very active, debated student where I take part in all this speeches competition, debate competition, and everything in school. And I was very much in all of these activities in college, where I would be a part of this entire festival from budgeting to managing it to everything. And suddenly, everything comes to an halt, and I was not able to do whatever I want to do in my life. Okay. And due to that, whatever the scenario I was kept in for, I was not able to speak like how I am able to speak now. I would get very sweaty palms if I come across people, if they ask any kind of question to me, and I would be very much nervous. Imagine an interview coming up, my heart rate would just go so faster, and I would sometimes almost freeze in place. But I had a choice, right? Let that fear control me or face it head on. And always, this YouTube has not really changed in a very greater aspect of me, but coming to this place and doing what I really like and sharing with you and speaking about it has tremendously helped me in conquering interviews and getting up the job, in talking up to people in public, and however it may be, right? All this worst case, like something was gonna happen, was just in my head. And eventually I was able to overcome this because I was able to write it down, figure it out what was would happen. Nothing would eventually happen. Some people may dislike, like how some people dislike fruit. If you're someone who don't like fruit, comment down below. One of my cousin sisters, she hates fruit, and I love fruit. So like that, eventually people won't, not the entire universe will love you. Okay, there will be one of you who gonna be very close to your heart. There will be a lot who will be against you. So there will be a lot who you eventually won't like. So fear is just an imaginary thing which is constantly saying us. I remember Inside Out. You all might have watched that movie. It is a very, very hilarious movie for me. Like how fear controls, how anger is always there, pushing that one button away for you, right? So think of yourself and then write it on your fear and ask what words would happen to you. And then you will eventually figure out nothing is impossible. Step three, start small and build momentum. One of the most effective ways to overcome fear is through small, manageable steps. When we think about confronting a big fear, it can be overwhelming, but just like any skill, we will get better with practice. The key is building confidence through experience. Every small step you take builds momentum, and soon you will realize that what once felt terrifying is now something you're capable of handling. Step number 4, reframe fear as excitement, right? Here is a fun little trick. Instead of saying fear as a negative feeling, reframe it as an excitement. That might sound a little strange, so just hear me out. The physical sensation of fear and excitement are almost identical: a racing heart, sweaty palms, butterflies in the stomach. It's the story we tell ourselves about those sensations that makes the difference. When you feel fear, tell yourself, I'm excited. The body does not know the difference between the two. Like imagine you want to pursue your master and you are very much afraid to what to do. And rather than saying, hey, I'm scared, let's just say, I'm excited to pursue my master, right? If you start to associate those feelings with excitement rather than dread, you can change your entire experience of fear. Suddenly, it's not something to avoid, it's something to lean into. This is one of the trick I learned, and I have eventually learned to enjoy my fear in a different way rather than like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. I'm more like, yes, I'm excited to take this step forward too. Number 5, cultivate a growth mindset. Finally, let's talk about mindset, okay? A growth mindset is one of the most powerful tools you can have when it comes to overcoming fear. It is the belief that our abilities and intelligence can be developed over time through effort and learning. This mindset turns fear into tool for growth rather than a barrier to it. When you have a growth mindset, you see mistakes as opportunity for learning. You see challenges as stepping stone, not obstacle. If you're going to be someone who is going to be perfectionist, every time you want to do something, you want it to be absolute perfect. But rather than what do you keep your perfectionism aside and then just take that one step, and even if you do a mistake on that step, you will eventually implement in your next journey, right? And most importantly, you see fear as an ally, a sign that you're pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone and expanding your potential rather than thinking of it like, oh my gosh, I'm too scared, I'll run away. Rather than like, let's face it, what's worse going to happen? Nothing is going to happen. I'm not going to lose my life through this. I'm going to pursue whatever my heart desire. I'm going to pursue that master. I'm going to get the job. I'm going to move out of the city. I'm going to take this step which I've been holding for so long. So write it down and ask yourself what worst could happen. Remember, overcoming fear is an art. It's not something that happens overnight. It is a process, but with each step you take, you're building resilience, courage, and a deeper trust in yourself. You're not meant to live in a cage of fear. You're meant to live freely, growing, evolving, and embracing the unknown. And I promise, once you start facing your fears, you will look back and wonder why you were ever afraid in the first place. It is very true. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. Fear is a part of being human, but it does not define us. How we respond to it, it does, right? So, thank you very much for being a part of this 15th episode. If you're new here, please make sure to subscribe. And if you are my existing subscriber, thank you very much. And also, if this episode resonates with you, I would love for you to share it with someone who would use a little extra courage today. And also, don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment below. I'm happy to read. If you are not yet being a part of my Instagram, make sure to go ahead and follow. Keep embracing your fears. Become the best version of you is just on the other side. Until next time, keep moving forward with courage. And remember, fear is not your enemy, it's your teacher. See you all in the next episode. Till then, take care. Have a great life. Bye bye.